What's the secret you discovered that made you leave your ex? Saw a message preview on her lock screen of a dude heart reacting to a message from her saying, at least you know whenever I'm with him I'm thinking of you. We had just come back from a holiday for our anniversary and moved in together. I bragged to a friend in front of my girlfriend that my girlfriend and I had only fought once in our 2 years of dating. My girlfriend said the reason we never fought was because she didn't care enough about me to fight about anything. She also was cheating on me, but I didn't learn that one until after the relationship ended. The guy she was cheating on me with found out about me. He found me at a bar, told me about it, bought me a drink, and I immediately got on the phone and broke up with her. I'm not going to go into super deep detail, but it was nice to have an honorable dude give me the warning instead of weeks of suspicion. I was about to get an apartment with her, and I dodged a bullet. Some random dude at a bar last week dropped the news that my roommate, best friend of more than a decade now BTW, had been sleeping my ex-GF for at least the past 6 months. We broke up about 4 months ago and he was by my side while I broke down over that bitch lol. I really appreciate the guy at the bar for that. He also bought me a drink too. 3 months after moving our 3 kids and us to another state, she was cheating and got pregnant. She had the child with that guy, then proceeded to cheat on him to get pregnant again, except with twins. So 6 kids in 7 years with 3 people that I know of. The coworker he was worried I was attracted to, I was. The difference is I never talked to him outside of work related things and shut him down immediately when he showed interest in me. A girl coworker gave my ex 1 ounce of attention and he cheated and left me for her almost immediately. Later regretted it and said the grass isn't always greener. Now he's with her because I wouldn't move back with him and he didn't want to be lonely. Glad I stayed on my side of the lawn. I would never want to be the one responsible for how awful another person feels because I couldn't stay faithful at work. A partner should never have to feel insecure about you going to your job. She was talking to a guy in another state. Decided she liked him better. He was coming to see her and that's when I found out about him. She basically told me he wasn't going to be happy to see me around and to go away. Well, the joke was on her because he came to tell her he found someone at home and was breaking up with her. After he left she decides to come crawling back to me and as much as I wanted to get back with her I just couldn't trust her. She went out with her friends one night. I had a headache and didn't feel like going anywhere so I stayed in. She had ducked up before so we did the whole location sharing thing. This idiot still goes to this guy's house and didn't come home till 5 a.m. Truth was, I didn't have a headache. I had a feeling she was talking to him again so I let it happen. Happened on a Friday night and Saturday night we had a dinner planned with her parents who were in town. I figured I'd suffer through it, work on finding a new place to live immediately, and the next week just disappear. Saturday night at dinner her mom says, let me know when you want to propose and I'll give you my ring. My ex nudges me and says, yeah, when are you gonna ask her? I laughed so hard during the interaction, knowing she was with someone else less than 24 hours earlier. Sunday morning she starts going in on me about the dishes as I'm doing them. I finally got so fed up I just laughed and said, so where were you Friday night? She turned white. Edit, grammar. She knew we were tight on money after she moved in with me and she needed to find a job urgently. She claimed to be applying for jobs all the time. She didn't want me looking over her resume or application letters. Months later I discovered she never applied to any jobs out of fear for rejection. I always suspected because he liked all her stuff on Facebook, but barely liked my stuff anymore. But maybe it's just the algorithm, right? I rationalized it. Then during a get together with our friends, my stomach drops when I see her face walk in the door. I hold it together for about 3 hours but I can't help see how they light up when they talk to each other. Then I went to the bathroom to throw up and get myself back together. I was overreacting, seeing things that weren't there. It was just anxiety coming from my last relationship ending with him cheating. I spent an hour there crying and he didn't even check on me. I finally go out and don't see either of them. IDK what compelled me but I looked for them. And there they were, on top of each other. Neither of them even looked at me. They just stopped and stared at the wall like I wasn't there. Said nothing. He denied it till the day I blocked him. He said she was just drunk and he was being there for her. I wanted to say I needed him to be there for me, but there was no point. There was no rational thought in his words. He was just spewing out whatever he thought would be easiest to end the conversation. It didn't matter what I said because he didn't care. But even his friends admitted it. And now she's his GF and I've never been able to love since. I found her and her sister texting about birth control. More specifically, the sister was gonna start deliberately sabotaging hers. When I asked about it, I was told it was okay. She just trying to make sure he stays. I left fast enough. You could see smoke. Wish I knew the sister's boyfriend, so I could have warned him. His drug dealer called to let me know my husband had a 3K per week coke habit, and he owed money. Just calling to let me know they know which school bus my kid rides. JFC, what do you even do in that situation? 12K a month on coke? Sure, there's cheaper options than that, my god. Did everything work out okay for you? Oh yes. I'm great. It really did duck up my kid, though. He was 8 and his dad, who was a good dad for 8 years, BTW, spent the next several years breaking his heart over and over again. I moved us out of state in an effort to protect him, but the damage had already been done. His addiction to cam girl sites. I found out via the insane credit card bill that he could no longer hide, as the CC was through his bank and he'd maxed out his already insane credit limit and the bank had started taking 80% of his deposited paychecks to pay it down. The CC bill was over $150K when I discovered it, and he could no longer pay his share of household bills due to the bank garnishing his check to pay down the balance. Serious WTF though, Pornhub is free and it wasn't a thing yet. Split in 2015. How TF do you rack up $150K on cam girl sites in secret, no less? Like, where was he even watching and interacting with those sites? In the bathroom at work or something? We were literally together every waking minute outside of work. We were together 1/2 years at that point. Smart man tanked his relationship and credit all in one go. About 10 years ago my father received an anonymous letter telling her my mother was having an affair, and had been doing so for the last 4 years. We didn't have any proof, but my mother was very secretive, and very protective of her iPad. It almost became a sad running joke about the secrets of her iPad. I actually walked by her while she was using it one day and snatched it out of her hands just to mess with her and get a reaction out of her, and she jumped up from the couch and grabbed my arm and took the iPad back, yelling at me to not touch her things. One day, my mother was out working overtime and my sister discovered her iPad was unlocked. She went through it and discovered my mother was meeting her affair partner at that very moment. My father called me, distraught and in tears, asking what he should do. I told him to let me take care of things and for him to just stay home with my sister. I found the restaurant they were at, turned my phone on to record and went inside. There I discovered my mother with her AP. The look on her face was one of shock as I walked over to their booth, sat down next to her, ordered myself a beer and asked what was going on. She began to make excuses, but I called her on her bullshit and told her I knew this had been going on for years and was just waiting for my chance to catch them. The AP, who was married with a family themselves, began apologizing, saying they know how awful it was and how sorry they were. I looked at my mother and asked why the AP was apologizing when they hadn't apologized yet, and my mother just quietly said I'm sorry. I asked more questions to gather more information, all while recording, and after the most awkward 20 minutes of my life, wished them a happy life, and left the bar. I called my father on my way to his house, made a pit stop at Home Depot to buy new locks for the door, and went to my father's house and changed the locks. My mother claimed she slept in her car that night before asking to go to the house the following day to get some clothes before moving into her brother's house. Over the following 2 years during all the divorce proceedings I served as an unofficial mediator, delivering messages or gathering up possessions to drop off to my mother. Their divorce became finalized and a weight came off my shoulders. My days of having to be a go-between and a messenger were over and I could have a little bit of my sanity back. It was a very difficult thing for me to do, but I was the right person for the job and took care of my family. My father and I have a great relationship, and my relationship with my mother is not strained, but I feel awkward around them sometimes. My mother's choices have caused her to miss big family moments, such as my wedding, birthdays of their grandkids, christenings, etc. I do not know if my mother ever would have left my father had I not intervened, but I believe that the steps I took that night made everyone's lives better in the long run. I probably need therapy because of the mental anguish and heartache this caused me, but for now, years later, I'm still okay with telling people around me that I'm fine. Well, it was our 5th wedding anniversary and he left his phone downstairs. He says now that he knew, and that's why he ran down once he realized that he left it. But he had videos of my closet, my designer bags and luxury items videotaped by him. And offering all of my belongings up escorts whose names looked like they were methamphetamine. That night, he left and $2 100 bills were missing and a Prada bag I've never seen again. He had a Snapchat story up and was gone for only about an hour and a half because I waited up after nursing our newborn. I was done. Seeing his hand go through my clothes, my stuff, showing a stranger, it was so violating and invasive. I was so grossed out. The first girlfriend I had, she wanted us to run each other's credit to make sure we were financially compatible. I said sure, so she signed up for her credit report. I signed up for mine. She gave me a copy of her Experian report, a PDF copy, and it looked good, so it ticked off the box of fiscally responsible. A few weeks later, I overheard her talking to 2 different collection agencies and I wondered why she would be, if her credit score was over 780. I confronted her about it, and she told me she doctored the credit report, because she liked me, and she had horrible credit. I told her I would have stayed with her if she was making an effort to clean up her financial past, but I couldn't overlook the lying. Her and I had been high school best friends and dated for a little bit before she broke up with me after we graduated. We remained friends, had conversations to reconcile, and continued to be in contact with each other for over 18 years. We had a silly pact where we would marry each other if we were over 35 and single. Well, we were both single, done with dating, obviously had chemistry and decided to say screw it and go for it slowly. We were all in. I didn't think anything otherwise and didn't suspect a thing. She lived about 2 hours away by plane on a direct flight, so seeing each other was easy. Well, after a few months she had a manic episode and went missing, so I called her parents and they hadn't heard from her in a week. They were out of town. So they were sending her sister to check on her and calling friends. I called her work at the deli she worked at. The moment I said that this was her boyfriend, her boss said, well, I'm her boyfriend. Suffice to say she'd been living a double life. He'd been giving her money for her flights to visit sick family members, me, and see my dying dad, that she said was her uncle to him. I had also helped her a couple times for flights too, so she was pocketing the money. Her family and I were in contact during the whole thing, so I told them what was happening and she didn't like that because she got exposed to the fraud she is to her family. He always claimed to be the funny one in the relationship, made it part of his personality. For background, he cheated on me, but that's not the secret. Honestly, I was probably going to forgive him if it weren't for this. Afterwards I found his secret Twitter account where he followed all the girls he told me not to worry about, and all his tweets were my jokes and clever observations that he never laughed at. And now he's using my comedy to seem funny and cool to other girls. She worked at one of the stores I had merchandised for years. My relationship ended, so a few months later I approached this girl and gave her my number. She texted enthusiastically but said she had just gotten out of a relationship so wouldn't want to rush into anything. So I was like, hey, me too. We got along really well. Hung out every day. For 9 months. Then over the phone one night when I was on vacation, she teased me when she heard me say to my mom that I was talking to a friend. She's like, a friend? I said, let's talk about that when I get home. It had been 9 months, so I'm like, okay, it's safe to say we're together now. She got quiet and stopped texting me. I was so confused. No explanation. So I made a Facebook and looked her up. She never broke up with the boyfriend. Essentially cheated on both of us for 9 months. That was fun. I messaged the guy and told him to call me. When I told him, first thing he said was it's not the first time she's done this. Then he said, she told me you guys hooked up once a couple months ago. I was like, oh no, we've hooked up nearly every day, sometimes twice a day, for the past 9 months. They're still together. Just had a kid. Her age. It was college. I was 24. She said she was 26. We weren't dating at the time. We started dating and there were a couple of weird things that happened that were clues I ignored. 1. Her senior pictures looked pretty outdated 90s vibe. 2. She never let me see her ID. Eventually, I googled her out of curiosity. Turns out she was 31. While the age wasn't necessarily an inherent problem, lying about it certainly was. I knew she'd cheated on me and we were trying to have an open relationship to resolve that. Her right ear and she didn't realize I knew she cheated. I was using medical marijuana for pain reduction at night and she would get upset about it. Found out that she'd been doing Molly with the affair partner while expecting me to live in pain. She lost all her friends when they found out she'd been lying to them about the situation after she told them I'd agreed to an open relationship and changed my mind. Her friends even tried to keep me in their circle. That she was having an affair. This affair with a married man went on 4 years before we got married and at times during and up to our divorce. She actually followed him from one state to another when he moved. He was also part of my friend group after we got married because she was helping his wife with a home-based business. I even used to babysit the affair partner's kids. We divorced and I told them they were crazy. I talked him into dumping his wife. She was indeed crazy, and they have been married for close to 10 years now. We would have weekly lunch dates on Wednesdays at the same restaurant. It was his favorite place, he said. He was only available Wednesday at noon, he said. Well, I had my phone stolen from work one Wednesday and decided to go wait at our spot for him anyways. I was chatting with a waitress who I hadn't seen there before and eventually asked to borrow her phone to call my BF and let him know my phone got stolen, but I was waiting there for him. Typed in his number and his contact came up with a photo of him and his dog in his bed, no clothes. And we both said, how do you know my boyfriend? She usually has Wednesdays off and was just covering a shift that day. They have weekly Wednesday dinner dates. Received an email while I was in Afghanistan from her best friend. It was eye-opening, to say the least. Among the items mentioned was an incident where a guy had slept over, and our 2-year-old walked in the next morning and said, "Daddy, you're home early, that one hurt." He had a cheating home-wrecking kink. He had an affair with his best friend for a year, told a coworker how hot it would be for them to sneak around on their partners, and spent thousands on OnlyFans, some of it in private sessions to role-play cheating. We had an open relationship. He could have been honest and transparent, but that wasn't what got him off. I still don't understand why his fantasy included manipulating and traumatizing me and telling people I was vanilla and didn't understand polyamory. Turns out I very much enjoy kink and open relationships with honest people. So surprising. I had one girlfriend who worked in stationery sales. It's actually big business. She once told me she slept with all of the men who were her clients when she won a contract. I asked her how I will know that she won't do that with me. She said, "Trust me." I looked at her and thought, she has been doing this for 12 years and maybe 20 or so contracts a year. She would have a body count higher than John Wick. So I didn't leave, but I took a 3-month gig away from my home state, and when I got back it was over. I didn't cry. We were already broken up, but it's what made me move on from her and multiple friendships. She hid her relationship with the guy she knew I hated but tolerated for the sake of mutual friends. Once it came to light, multiple friends acted like I should have already known. It was so obvious. That made me cut her and them out. I'm not saying she needed to keep herself available for just me. I'm saying if she's gonna move on when I've made my feelings known, I deserve to know she's moving on instead of being strung along and lied to.